Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to this first day after TikTok. This is Faith Lies and Confusion. I'm Godless Reggie, and this is NJ. How you doing, NJ?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. That was a beautiful introduction. That was a beautiful introduction.
Oh man, it's just sad. I just keep on just reminiscing. It's been about 3 hours for me because I've only been awake for about 3 hours, and I just keep on going back to TikTok just like it's not so. It's not so. But while we're on this topic, something important I just posted on Facebook, right? I wanted to let everybody know I didn't use the best choice of language. So I'm gonna speak on it again so everybody can hear it. But dear conservatives and dear black people, right? Uh, hear ye, right? Don't think now that the great savior Donald Trump has came to save the day. Uh, this is not Guyana. Uh, he is not Jim Jones. Do not drink the Kool-Aid, right? Do not look at it as if this ban comes off that he did America just this great favor, right? Or that he's just this great savior, because you have to take in context he is one of the people a few years ago that was for it. So I want to touch on this is because this man is the master of propaganda, right? And if you're not paying attention, you can be fooled. It's no different than the situation when people say, "Oh, when Donald Trump was the president, we had all this money circulating and shit." The reason why you think that in your mind is because when that first check came to your house, because a lot of you motherfuckers did not have a bank account, right? A lot of people got that check with his name on it, right? Not knowing the truth of the situation. The truth of the situation is it took us longer to get the checks because he wanted to get his name put on them, right? To create this myth as if he's helping you or it's his money. He's not in control of the currency. I don't give a fuck who you are, right? So that plays on some people's mind. I've seen celebrities, right? And people that we look up to, these influencers, and that a lot of people take advice from, saying exactly what I just said. Um, so propaganda can happen. It happens to all of us, no different. I heard somebody tell me the other day that the Africans sold us into slavery. It's just crazy that people will believe any fucking thing once a person with enough power or pull says it.
Anything at
Any
all.
any
Because the whole TikTok ban started with Donald J. Trump. He was the first one to come out and say, I'm getting rid of it.
right,
And
right.
now he is reelected and he's coming back trying to say he gonna give it back. And at this point, I don't even want it back. And the fact that you went on Facebook to make your announcement, we gonna have to fix that because you're only supposed to go back to Facebook for death announcements. That's what Facebook is for, the announcements of family deaths. So you can find out if you need to check to see if you are in the will. That is what Facebook is for at this point. It started as a college app. It is now the death announcement app. That's where we go to get our obituaries.
Or
Facebook.
or news. Or news. I don't actually watch like my local news. I could just go right on Facebook for two reasons. Number one, more than likely, a local person is going to know about the situation, the whole situation, before the news and the media does. And number two, these media outlets, they have Facebook pages, right? So they link them to it. So I can just go right on there. You know, I still fuck with Facebook during the TikTok era. I did. I used them for different things, right? You can use them together at the same time. But again, they're for different things. To your point, like it used to be a college app, now it's just a obituary, death certificate thing, or local news. It's for nosy motherfuckers. So, but today's episode is a little bit different, y'all. It's technically not about religion today, but this show is called Faith, Lies, and Confusion. This particular topic I am confused about, so in my opinion, it definitely falls into that category. Um, Now that I'm looking into the situation, I guess it would be technically a form of Freemasonry. You do hear a lot of people say things about Freemasonry out of ignorance. They look at it as a religion. I've heard people say stuff like it's devil worship, it's blah 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 blah. Um, it can't be devil worship because there's no such thing. Um, growing up, I've always heard about the Eastern Stars from family members, starting with my mother. She's from the Eastern Shore, as we call it, or the Delmarva Peninsula, whichever one you want to call it, Virginia, Maryland, Delaware area. Her grandparents, great grandparents, and my great aunt, we called her, well, her name was Tabitha, spelled like Tabitha, but pronounced Tabitha. Her and my great grandmother, Ida Lee Davis, were Eastern Stars. Um, Again, growing up, it was kind of like seemed like a mythical organization that they really didn't want to share too much information about. I didn't get why, and it seemed like they were more secretive when it came to men about it.
Ooh, because the men are not supposed to be in the conversation of the Eastern Star. The men are the problem to the Eastern Stars. That is why as a son, you could not hear the conversations. But as a girl, I could hear all the conversations I wanted. All I had to do was hang out in the kitchen or by the bar.
Okay, um, actually, NJ is the one who brought up the title for today's episode, and I
See,
did.
you just ruined it. You just ruined it. It was going to be a great episode and a great title, but now you're trying to get credit over here.
I
No,
mean,
it just happened to be the latest and greatest on my mind of lies. That's all. That's all.
okay, okay. Well, she made up a quick lie, right? And brought it to my attention. Um, so I think that she has some great knowledge and input that she can put into it. Um, Tell us what you know about it.
I know that it's an organization that was started because stone was the building material of choice because stone lasts. You can put up a stone dwelling and walk away from it, come back centuries later, and the stone will still be there. It might be covered in some vines, it might have some water leakage if the stones weren't sealed correctly, but it will still be there. So that is why in 1717 they came together over there in what they call the UK. It's called the UK now. At the time, I believe was just it was just London, just Britain, just them peoples. But um, they formed the first lodge of stone builders because they were in the process of building their kingdom. And so you can't do anything in the UK without there being some kind of a organization that says who's allowed to build and who is not, who has paid their dues and who has not. So you cannot be amongst the Masons if you have not paid your dues, if you have not had a proper, um, what is that thing where you work under someone to,
Apprenticeship.
yes, you have not had a proper apprenticeship. Um, if whomever you apprenticed under has lost accreditation, so do you. Um, and the Eastern Stars was established later, but by a man uh, who had come to the Americas and set up a college in Mississippi. Um, and basically, the ladies were there for the men. They got together what they considered um, the creme de la creme of the ladies in the area, gave them the title of Eastern Star, and gave them the knowledge that would be required that the men no longer wanted to be bothered with. So they didn't want to be bothered with the books. They gave it to the Eastern Stars. They didn't want to be bothered with the get-togethers required for discussions to happen, they gave that job to the Eastern Stars. And sometimes they found good wives because they were business savvy and it made their lives easier. They got all the credit, but the wives did all the work under the guise of Eastern Stars. Is that a good enough start for now?
Absolutely. All right. So I like to use different resources whenever I look something up, especially on here on this show when I'm not 100% knowledgeable about it. Um, I'm maybe 5% knowledgeable of this topic. Again, what I've known or what I've learned from the situation um, is from basically being nosy, hearing my mom talk, like NJ was saying, and I had no idea what the hell they were talking about. Um, what she just said, I had no idea about. So I'm gonna use a couple different resources to read from. So I'm gonna use Chat GTP and see what it says. Give me 1 second. I also feel that we can get the best knowledge from a person firsthand, in my opinion.
First-hand knowledge is always awesome, but
Exactly.
the ladies who are in the order, who have paid their dues, had their apprenticeships, basically um, their tea ceremony that they have at the end that allows them to be an Eastern Star. Their tea ceremony is basically their NDA. That is saying that what we learn, we will not share with the men, and we will only share with our daughters, and only if we deem our daughters worthy.
Okay. It makes sense now, or more sense now, why they didn't want us to know or why they didn't talk to us about it. 1 second. The Eastern Star is a social and charitable organization that is affiliated with Freemasonry, primarily for women. Its full name is the Order of the Eastern Star, founded in 1850 by Rob Morris, a prominent Freemason. The organization was established to offer women an opportunity to participate in Masonic principles, rituals, and charitable work. The Order of the Eastern Star is open to both men and women, although membership is typically associated with the relatives of Masons, such as wives, daughters, sisters, and mothers. The group's teachings and rituals are based on the biblical stories of women in the Bible, including figures like Esther, Ruth, and Martha. The organization has several key aims. Number one, charitable activities. Members often participate in community service projects and fundraising efforts for causes such as healthcare, education, and social services. Two, social fellowship. The Eastern Star offers members a sense of community through social events, meetings, and shared values. Number three, Masonic values. The organization shares many of the moral teachings and principles of Freemasonry, such as brotherly love, charity, and truth. The symbols of the Eastern Star include a 5-point star with each point representing a different virtue, and these are used in rituals and practices. Members also follow a code of conduct that emphasizes kindness, charity, and mutual support. The organization is found in many countries around the world with local chapters called chapters where members meet regularly. Is there anything that I just said in there that isn't accurate or anything like that? Because I know sometimes it depends on the locations. For example, like I said, the chapters and things like that.
Right, right, and you're going to run into that. But I didn't hear anything that I couldn't believe. I didn't hear a word I couldn't believe. But but while we're but while we're here,
Okay.
um, for the tea ceremony, um, tea was introduced in that same century that they came up with the Freemasons. Tea was introduced by the Portuguese, and we all know we love the Portuguese and their colonizing. Colonization began with the Portuguese,
Hmm.
and even at the ending, the Portuguese might not be in it anymore, but here we are still dealing with the mess that they have made. So the tea was introduced to the Western world by the Portuguese priests and merchants in China during the early 16th century. It quickly became popular in British during the 17th century, transforming from a luxury item to a staple in British society. That's important to know because you can't be an Eastern Star without knowing and recognizing your tea. Every tea has a meaning and an outcome. And as an Eastern Star, you are meant to know that because it can set a mood, destroy an empire, or begin an empire.
I've been aware of the Spanish and the Portuguese travels and the conquistadors, but I do not know how the fuck did they get from Portugal all the way to fucking China? How the hell did you get there? And if you did get there, and I know they did, I know they did. How the fuck did you get back?
Well, if I remember correctly from watching things like Shogun and stuff like that, what had happened was um, they would take ships all the way down uh, Africa, back up past India, and usually get lost and end up in China or somewhere that China had been. They would ask about what was available in those areas, and they would say, "Oh, we got it from them people over there." And so, the ships would keep going, or they would come on land and travel. You didn't always make it out of China, though. That was the problem. See, a lot of people traveled to China. China didn't always let you leave, though. They thought it best to stay sheltered. Probably the best idea they ever had. Probably.
Man, I'm just thinking in terms of the length of time to do that because I know that they didn't have the canals like the Suez Canal. You couldn't have came through here and went through the Panama Canal. So I'm like, yeah, you had to either went down past South Africa all the way to fuck back up, or was it some mysterious river that I'm just not hip to that you took a motherfucking shortcut through or something because these travels had to have taken years to pull off, especially to get that tea back from China. You know how fucking long? Listen, I can't even guesstimate in my mind. I'm gonna have to look it up so I won't say something that's fucking completely ridiculous here. But
But you got to remember the Moors. When the Moors told Christopher Columbus about the Americas, what they lied and said to him was it was a shortcut to the Indies. They told him it was a shortcut to the Indies. So uh, while he was stupid for falling for it, that is how they got him to go out there in the boats.
yeah, and that's a mystery. And then I know that they eventually went to fucking the Philippines and shit like that. And I know that they took the Mexicans, well, what we would call Mexicans now, because they weren't Mexicans at that point. They took a lot of the Mexican slaves at that point from Mexico to the Philippines in like the 1500s. And I'm like, damn, how the fuck did you make that goddamn trip across the Pacific Ocean like that? How the fuck did you do that with sailboats? But now that I'm thinking about it, they probably had a couple hundred years of practice at that point. So they probably figured out a way to trap water. Maybe they ran into the Fiji Islands. Maybe they ran into fucking Hawaii. We don't know.
I don't think they ran into Hawaii. If they had run into Hawaii, whoo.
But where did you stop and re up at? Because you had to stop some fucking where from Mexico. Listen, from Mexico to the Philippines. I'm not thinking that you made that whole trip nonstop. Ain't no motherfucking way.
They found the Philippines before they found Mexico.
No, no. Because
They
it was
didn't?
No, because they found it. They've used the Mexicans to go. Have you ever noticed that people from the Philippines, they look kind of Mexicanish? Ever notice that?
You think so? I don't
Yeah.
think so. Maybe it's just me.
Compare,
Maybe it's
compare.
because I'm a little bit too nosy.
No, no. I'm saying in comparison to all the rest of the Asians, they look different. They look completely fucking different. And the conquistadors went there, and they're saying that they went there after they went from Mexico. Matter of fact, let me double check that because I'm pretty sure that
Because you know I'm double
we get.
checking right now. Because I'm like, wait a minute. I was wrong about something. Hold on. The first recorded visit by Europeans to the Philippines was by Ferdinand Magellan. Landed on Hampton Island on March 17, 1521. Uh, Mexico's history with European explorers began early. The Spanish uh, conquest of Aztec Empire led by Hernan Cortez started in 1519. This marked the beginning of Spanish colonization in Mexico, which was then known as New Spain.
So when I googled it, right, which I don't really trust Google as a 100% sure source. What I typed in is the Spanish landed in Mexico before the Philippines. It says yes, the Spanish landed in Mexico before the Philippines. Hernan Cortez conquered the Aztec Empire in Mexico in 1521, while Ferdinand Magellan, sailing from Spain, first reached the Philippines in the same year, making Mexico the earlier Spanish landing site. And then it says Mexico's first, the Spanish conquest of Mexico led by Hernan Cortez occurred in 1521. Then it says later, Ferdinand Magellan also in 21 made the first Spanish contact with the Philippines. To me, that's kind of confusing information because it doesn't directly answer the question.
You know, I'm like right now just looking at the map, like, where's the Philippines? Where's Mexico? I know I should have paid better attention in geography, but I was always more captivated with the history of it than the landmass of it. Now, my mom, she is amazing with a globe and a map. The things she can do, absolutely amazing.
It's in the Pacific Ocean. I know that. Not too far from Japan, Korea, all that good stuff. I know that.
It's just hard to find ones that are set up with correctly because you know Americans, they like to make America the center of attention and bigger than it actually is. You know what I mean?
True. True. The United States has also invaded the Philippines as well. I don't know if you know about
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I got a good friend
When
from there.
I used to work in computers, so you know, there were a lot of Filipinos that worked with me. I was curious where they was all coming from.
San Diego, Chula Vista.
Bingo.
one
How much
of
I
my
bought
good
my coffee already?
one of my good friends, his name is Jorley. He's from there. Him and his family are from the Philippines. They speak as a language very similar to Spanish. Very, very. It has a lot of Spanish words for the reasons that we're saying. But let me get back on track. Where was I at with the reading?
Yeah, I'm sorry, we got distracted with which came first.
Big time. I'm gonna play a video real fast. You can go get you some coffee if you want to.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
1 second, y'all. I'm gonna get this video together.
Hey, everybody. My name is Jared, and I am a master mason in the state of Mississippi. Mississippi in the United States of America. And y'all have to let me know, is the tie working for the show? I normally don't wear a tie on the show. Today I'm trying out the Sprig of Acacia tie from Edgar Alejandro over at Masonic Revival. He's got a whole series of things with the Sprig of Acacia, and it looks really darn sharp. But you let me know, what do you think? Is the tie working it for the show? Today's viewer's question is, if you have any general knowledge about the Order of the Eastern Star organization, I would appreciate a video. Maybe compare and contrast them with regular Masons. Well, let me thank you for phrasing that the way that you did, because general knowledge is about all I have. I am a member of the Order of the Eastern Star, and I'm currently serving as marshal in my local chapter. However, I've only been a member for about 2 years, and for the first year, I wasn't very active at all. I was just way too busy with home life stuff. But now I've gotten very active with it again, and I'm enjoying learning, so I can share with you a little bit of history about where it even came from, and I can give you a little bit of that compare and contrast that you're looking for. So one thing that's a bit unique about the Order of the Eastern Star is there's no mystery or debate about its origin. So in Freemasonry, you can have people who say, look, it started in 1720, plain and simple. You have people who say it started in 1717. Plain and simple. You have people who say, well, it goes back to the stonemason guilds. We know it went back to 1300 or 1100 or something to that effect. Or then we have people who say, no, it goes all the way back to King Solomon himself. And you have people who say, no, it goes back to Noah. And you have people who say it's been there ever since the time of Adam. So just depending on who you ask, you could debate all day long about the origins of Freemasonry. The Order of the Eastern Star, however, was developed and initiated by a man named Dr. Rob Morris right here in the great state of Mississippi. So it just happens that this last weekend, before filming this video, my wife and I attended an awesome event over at the Little Red Schoolhouse, just north of Jackson, Mississippi, in a town just outside of a town called Pickens, Mississippi. The Little Red Schoolhouse is where Dr. Rob Morris was the principal. It started off as a general schoolhouse, became a Masonic university, and during the time that Rob Morris was working there as the principal, he came up with what we know today as the Order of the Eastern Star. So there's no two bones about it, but depending on who you ask, it is generally considered a very beautiful and meaningful degree work. So obviously in any Masonic related organization, there are people who have their favorites. But generally speaking, people who've been through the Order of the Eastern Star say, wow, that was pretty impactful and had a lot of meaning behind it. So something that's perhaps a little bit different is that in regular Freemasonry, as you call it, you're familiar with the idea of going through a series of degrees. So you go to the first degree, you learn some things, you prove a proficiency in that degree, and then you're able to move on to the next one, and so on until you receive your master's degree, and then you can potentially join other organizations if you're interested, etc. Over in the Eastern Star, I have heard it referred to several times as degrees. Specifically, there are 5, and they relate to the 5 points on a 5-pointed star. But of 5 degrees, if you will, they are all conferred.
Is everything he said making sense from your point of view, NJ?
No, didn't he say that he is an Eastern Star? Or did he say he is a Freemason?
He's a Freemason.
Oh, okay. Because at first I thought he said he was an Eastern Star, and I was confused as heck. But I'm back on track now. I'm back on track.
Yeah, he's speaking in third person for sure, because like the last statement he just said when he just was hold on, I'll go back a few seconds. Give me 1 second.
Referred to several times as degrees. Specifically, there are 5, and they relate to the 5 points on referred to several times. You can potentially join other organizations if you're interested, etc. Over in the Eastern Star, I have heard it referred to several times.
See right there, that's what I'm saying. He's referring to it as if he doesn't know for sure, or he's saying what he heard. So I don't think he's making that that hardcore claim that he's an Eastern Star. I'm pretty sure he's a Freemason, and that's the first thing he said when he came on. But I made the mad dash to the bathroom.
All right. Okay. All right. So he's speaking in third person. And is the wife an Eastern Star, or she's just like part of the story?
I'm not sure. I'm sure he'll address it. If we miss out, I'll just replay it in the beginning.
Yep. I'm listening now. I'm listening.
As degrees. Specifically, there are 5, and they relate to the 5 points on a 5-pointed star. But of 5 degrees, if you will, they are all conferred in one night in the same ceremony. So when you go through and receive your degrees, it wouldn't really come to your mind that you just went through 5 different degrees, because it's one ceremony, so to speak. But there are 5 different lessons to learn. And again, I hear them termed in the Eastern Star as degrees. So what are these degrees? Well, they're related to 5 heroines or females in the Holy Bible. And most people are aware that in the Holy Bible, we can read a million different men's names, but references to women or what the women were doing are kind of slim and far and in between. But here in Dr. Morris's Order of the Eastern Star, we have 5 different heroines, one of which isn't given by name in the Bible. It's just a reference to someone. And so the name is a little bit interesting. But let's start and give them in the order that they would in the Eastern Star. They are Ada, whose lesson is centered around the blue colored point of the star. Ruth's, whose lesson is centered around the yellow colored point of the star. Esther, around the white point of the star. Martha, around the green point. And Electa, referencing to the elected, on the red point of the star. So each one of these heroines obviously went through a story in the Bible. I'll let you go and read about it yourself. And the Eastern Star gets a moral lesson out of that and conveys it over to members. So that generally is what you're looking at. And some other differences, at least with my Blue Lodge here locally. I don't think this is a universal difference. Music is very much incorporated into regular business meetings and.
Okay, so that's something I've never heard about the music part of the situation. Um, do you guys play music at when you were involved, or are you aware of that, NJ?
I have no awareness about the music at all, except for what I may have heard at my aunties and uncles' houses, un- aunties and uncles' houses at the time, and I never thought to remember the music or give it any kind of meaning. And I did not partake. Matter of fact, I grew up very vehement that I would not partake of the Masons, the Eastern Stars, none of it. To a lot of uncles and aunties' dismay. Oh my goodness. Want to start a war in the family? Don't take the Kool-Aid. Don't take the Kool-Aid. Family will get upset, mad. Uh,
Obviously, I'm
so
super
I don't know
ignorant.
anything about music.
Obviously, I'm super ignorant on this topic, but what are some of the reasons that you are saying that you didn't want to be a part of the organization? Because from the outside looking in, right, it looks like it's like the in club or the cool thing to do. I don't know.
It is. It is. I mean, if you're gonna be in a club, I ain't gonna lie. It's a good club to be in. Lots of connections. Um, you know how they you know how they like to say each one teach one. Um,
Uh-huh.
everyone should have that friend that they can ask for $800 and they got it. It all of that comes from that organization. You can get into the right school. You can you can come right out of school and start a hell of a business being a part of the Eastern Stars. But I came up during that era with Spike Lee, and he did that movie about college campuses, HBCUs, good hair, bad hair, the smart kids, the not smart kids, the Malcolm X kids, as opposed to the the Martin Luther kids. It, that whole thing made me start going down college rabbit hole, and I went to college as long as it was free. The minute I had to pay a dime into that education system, I didn't want it. That was my choice. I didn't want them problems. And looking back now at all of the issues going on with students, student loans, and all of that stuff, who paid their dues and who didn't, I'm kind of glad. I feel as though I made a sound, savvy decision.
Hell yeah, you did. I tell people all the time, the best way to get into debt, go to college. Now, I'm
Woo!
not gonna sit here and pretend like education is not the key to getting you where you want to be, because it is. But the thing about it is, you have to understand and you have to know what you're getting yourself into, and you have to get involved in some kind of field that you know is going to bring profit to you. Now, I'm not knocking nobody that's going in the healthcare field. I'm not knocking you, because people are going to get sick. People are going to unalive. That's just the facts of life. I'm not going to argue if you're going to get into law enforcement, right? Because people are going to break the law and people are going to go to jail. You know,
How's that working right now? How's that working right now? How's that law enforcement thing working right now? Just asking for myself. Just
it
asking for myself.
it depends on which part we're talking about. Now, if we talk about just starting out being a cop, yeah, I don't think I would want to do that, right? Because them motherfuckers, you can work at McDonald's and make that kind of money, right? But if we're talking about um, the criminal justice system as a whole, right? If you're gonna go be a lawyer or something like that, that can pan out for you. That can, and more than likely that will pan out for you. You're gonna spend some money to get that education, right? But if you stick with it and you become a lawyer, paralegal, whatever it is you may be, it's gonna pan out for you. But all you motherfuckers that's going to school for business and shit like that, no, you're gonna be
Business school ain't nothing but teaching you how to be at the top of the pyramid scheme.
hmm But there's so many
That's all
people.
business school is.
There's so many people with worthless business degrees. There's a lot of people, right? And I'm not even gonna say that gaining knowledge on how to run a business is not a good field to know. But period, you're gonna get so far into debt, you're gonna be $80,000 in the hole before you get going, right? How are you gonna succeed doing this shit? You're not.
I mm-mm, I business was definitely not my forte. Uh, nope, nope, nope. Um, I ain't gonna lie. I went to school for engineering, but I don't know. Engineering took a turn for me. I found I found the stars much more interesting with my engineering degree. Photonics, photonics. That's what definitely pulled me out of it altogether. Photonics and actuary science, because engineering is hot, heavy in math, very heavy in math. But I was always looking for where the money was in math, and the money was in actuary science. Oh my goodness. Number one, you did not need your degree. Number two, you just had to be good at math and able to pass four exams that were given at four different times of the year. So you just had to pass the test, and then you were considered an actuary scientist, and insurance companies would listen to you. But as you can see from the current thing we are going through with homeowners insurance, car insurance, um, sexual deviant insurance, um, I would say that actuary science has lost its damn mind.
I agree. Honestly, if I had a son or a young child growing up now, I would probably try to influence them into not so much as engineering, but maybe so, but something hands on. You better off being a plumber, for real, for real.
Cause
Any
you know
apprenticeship
what?
program.
Look, 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 look. The plumbing in the house gotta work, and the heating and air conditioning in the house gotta work.
Roof too.
Excellent point, excellent point. But all I'm gonna say is, I don't believe in marriage. That is my personal belief. But I taught my children that if you're gonna be out here making children, please recognize and understand that that is a 18-year tether to another human being in the world. 18 years, 18 years. Then found out the baby wasn't his. So uh, I've been lucky enough where the kids met somebody and they wanted to stay with them and they got married. Yada yada yada. They've had their children. But my point is this: my daughter found someone who not college educated, but they handy as a motherfucker. Let me tell you, there is nothing like an individual who can take a house apart put it back together again, draw you the plan, rearrange the plan, and then and then and then cut the tree down, make the board, and follow the plan. When I tell you, people like that bring me joy. It's like, what can I get you? What do you need? Baby girl, this man looks stressed. Why is he looking stressed? Help him be unstressed. He needs nothing. Let's all hey grandson, your dad looks like he needs nothing. Let's leave dad alone. Let him take a nap on the sofa. That man has all of our futures in his hands. Try to
Mhm.
disturb that man.
And check this out. I got some free game for everybody. Listen, you want me to tell you how you can beat anybody out? You know how people be like, oh, well, the people are coming from any other countries. I'm not going to pinpoint them. You know what I'm saying? They're groups, they're ethnic groups. But typically, people from other countries, they're skilled with their hands, right? Compared to the American citizen. But want me to tell you how you can beat every last one of them out because I know something that they do not know how to do. And I'm telling you this because I have friends that own properties, right? I have other friends that are into real estate, right? So I've seen how all they can cut the corners and shit like that. I know people that can do roofs that can cut corners like that. I know they can go get foreigners, but one thing none of them motherfuckers know how to do. Guess what it is?
Mm.
Electricity. None of them. I ain't never met a foreigner that knows how to do electricity. I ain't never met a person. Well, I have met people, American citizens, that know how to do backyard electricity work, but you're not gonna find a foreigner that know how to do that. So what I'm trying to tell you is, if you go get you a degree in electricity, you can't be beat out. Free game.
All I'm going to say is there was a reason I picked the first husband. His strength was my weakness. He did electrical and electronics. It worked out well. I could do mechanical all day long, but I stuck with a soldering gun. This
Your
is
hand
what
just
it
gotta be
is.
steady.
Yes, and I don't have the steady hands for that. I
Yeah,
really just don't
I
have patience.
yeah, I know some people that know how to do that. I actually know how because I went to school for electronics. But what I'm talking about is electrical. Now I don't know how to do this. Electrical work in a house. You're not
Right.
gonna you're not gonna find a person that could wire a house. You're not gonna find it. And when you do,
He could
because
wire the house because he had to learn that
mhm,
to
mhm,
following the
mhm,
electronics schematic. But yeah, he's that one that could take the whole box out, rip all the
mhm.
wires through the house, and then rewire everything
I know
with
three. If he stayed in my
minimal
city,
amount of holes, a minimal amount of holes in the wall.
look, I know three people. If that person was available right now, I know three people right now that will pay him to do their shit right now because they can't find nobody, and these people are hand in hand with Mexicans, and none of them motherfuckers know how to do it. None of them.
I
The point.
tried to tell him that he could move anywhere he wanted. I couldn't get him to leave the state where he was born. Not only could I not get him to leave the state, I couldn't even get him to leave the area where he was born. Like he literally lived within 15 minutes of the very spot he was born and raised, never to leave, ever,
I
because
wish I
he
knew how
had
to
a
do that.
job that paid him. And I was just like, but you can do that anywhere. Nah, you don't just leave a job. And I'm just looking at him like, who don't? I change jobs every year, if not two. I used to love it when I liked the job enough that I could stay there for 2 years. What? 2 years? On the resume? Oh my goodness. I thought I was really doing something. But I was famous for not even making it to 9 months. I ain't gonna lie on a perpetrate.
He stayed up here, he'd be hood rich, bare minimum, and that's a fact. He always would have work. Wouldn't even have to pay rent. People would be like, "All right, look, you can go ahead and hook the electricity up in this house, right? I'm gonna pay you, right? You can stay here as long as you want. You wouldn't have to do shit, nothing."
Yep. Because that's how I survived with husband number two. We was always moving because he was always doing somebody's house. But he could not do electrical. That was my job to go find the person who would do what I needed done. Because I knew how to do it, but I don't like getting my hands dirty. And at the time, I was spending a lot of money on manicures, pedicures, and my hair. So I definitely wasn't messing that up for no electrical work.
I would. I mean, I'm obviously not female, but if I knew how to do it, I would. But let me finish
But
playing
but
this
if I
video.
had the son-in-law that I have now with husband number two, oh my goodness, we would be fabulous moving every year from house to house, just doing electrical systems and fixer uppers.
Getting rich. Don't even got to spend the money on rent.
Not a dime, not a dime, not a dime. Just stacking it in the bank. Oh, I miss those days. Oh, I miss those days so much.
I wish I knew how. Let me finish playing the rest of this video.
Agreed work with the Order of the Eastern Star. With my lodge, nobody ever touches a piano or an organ or any other instrument. So it was definitely a bit of a culture change when I went from just going to the Blue Lodge by myself to attending Eastern Star with my wife. I thought, oh wow, that piano actually gets used over in that corner. So there's something there. Something else that is perhaps unique. Let me step into it a different way. To be a member of the Order of Eastern Star, you have to show some type of affiliation with a Master Mason. Now that could be your 4 times great grandfather. It could be your 4 times great uncle. It could be your husband. It could be your son. So there's many different things that are accepted. And very lenient, if you will, documentation that's required to prove that. Obviously, if we're talking about your 4 times great grandfather, there might be very little documentation to try to show that you had a Master Mason in your family. So really, the only thing I can tell you, the only right answer is you've got to contact a local chapter or maybe the grand chapter in your state and ask them what qualifications are necessary and what kind of proof do you need to be able to provide. They'll be the ones that can actually answer that question for you. Inside of an Eastern Star chapter, you're going to find that there are several different positions, and each one of them has a specific role and duty. I'm not going to step into each one, but suffice to say, it's more than what I am used to seeing inside of a regular Blue Lodge in Freemasonry. So that was something else that I thought was a little bit interesting. But one thing that I know that is still a thing inside of Eastern Star that some people don't expect or don't know about, because generally speaking, the Eastern Star is considered to be the sorority of Freemasonry, as if it's the female version of regular Blue Lodge Freemasonry. But then when you get there, you find out there's a man. And why is there a guy here if we're holding a Eastern Star chapter? I thought this was a women's organization. Well, it just so happens that every chapter does have to have what is styled as the worthy matron and a worthy patron for each of their chapters. So in Blue Lodge, you have to have a worshipful master of the lodge, and he has wardens and so forth. But in the Order of the Eastern Star, you have to have the matron and the patron. And I think, though I don't know, I have not done any scholarly research on this whatsoever, but intuitively, it makes sense to me because we're learning lessons from the scriptures. We're talking about lessons out of the Holy Bible. We're talking about interactions between men and women in the Bible and the patriarchs and the matriarchs of families and groups of people. So it makes sense to me that in this organization, we have the head figure being a woman, but the man figure has a point and a part in it as well. Almost all of the other chairs can be filled by women. There is an associate patron chair as well, but he's not required to be there for the chapter to actually open. But
get matched today with the tax expert who's just right for your situation. They'll do your taxes from start to finish, and you can work with the same expert year after year with TurboTax Live Full Service.
he still has to be there. And so the question that a lot of people have is, well, why? Why are we having this women's organization that has to have a man in it? And the answer is because it's not a sorority. It is an organization that is based off of biblical teaching. And in that, we see the patriarch and matriarch of a family, or the female and male head of some sort of group of people or organization. So I think that's where it really boils down to. Lastly, I think probably the most inconsequential difference between regular Freemasons and the Order of the Eastern Star that I have noticed is here in the United States, which has to be specified, we're going to have subordinate blue lodges in regular Freemasonry, and those blue lodges are answerable up to a Grand Lodge, which those blue lodges originally formed. So that's your hierarchy. At that Grand Lodge, which encompasses an entire state, there's no other higher authority. However, in the Order of the Eastern Star, it is an international organization. You're going to have your local chapter, a grand chapter over your state, and then you're going to have the international organization. So there is another level that is a bit higher, and the benefit there being that you're able to see the exact same ritual, the exact same lessons are being taught everywhere. Whereas in Freemasonry, it can differ a little bit from state to state, or in some areas even lodge to lodge. The benefit there being that the individual culture can show out the same lessons are being taught, but perhaps explained and portrayed in a slightly different way, but with the end message being the same. So you can take it or leave it, but it is a difference that's worth noting. I hope that answers your question about the Order of the Eastern Star. And as I progress, maybe in a year or two, we might delve into this and do a full out series about the Eastern Star, just like I have done with degrees over in regular Freemasonry. Thank you all so much for taking the time to watch. And don't forget to let me know about the tie. We'll see you next time. Bye.
The candidate for entered apprentice stands behind the door, waiting to be summoned. He's blindfolded, and there's a new...
Sorry about that, y'all. But there you have it. How you feel about all that, NJ?
Woo! All I'm gonna say is, my 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 affiliation that I would have to bring up died in a jail cell, hung supposedly by his own hand for being good with his hands, because he was the stone worker in the area. and playing with Caucasian women. They didn't like that. They really didn't like that. And that was New Jersey. That was New Jersey. In the, let's see, if I was born in that year, this would have happened somewhere around, the 60s, somewhere before 65, somewhere after 60, but before 65. He hung in a jail for not only building great artwork with his hands, but playing with Caucasian women. They ain't like that. And then the other thing is, I wanted to look up where this grand chapter was here in the United States for the Eastern Stars, and why am I not surprised? And how did I know exactly where it was going to be without even having to look it up? It happens to be in Kennesaw, Georgia. Do you know what else they bring to Georgia every year at the same time that the Eastern Stars come to
What?
Kennesaw, Georgia?
What?
The churches. The churches bring their money for their denomination. The Baptist, the Pentecostal, the there's another black chapter, I forget, but they all come the same time as the Eastern Stars to give their deposit for their fees and dues for the year.
And they come to the same exact city?
Yep.
That's too much of a coincidence.
Don't you think so? I was just thinking that it's just so much of a coincidence that the church and the Eastern Stars and the Masons. And why does there have to be a Mason in the Eastern Stars? I found that bit of information to be a lie. That is a lie. That is a lie. That is a lie. That must be in the Caucasian Eastern Stars. Because I know for a fact that is not true amongst the Black Eastern Stars. And you notice how he said that there's a grand chapter,
Mm-hmm.
and then they have these smaller chapters
Mm-hmm.
all around. Did you know that the smaller chapters are allowed to still be segregated?
No, I didn't know that. See, because
Yeah.
before today, I was actually under the impression that this was a black thing. I didn't know that white people actually are the ones who created this. I guess I thought that maybe because we're dealing with, well, the people I knew that were involved with it were black. And again, I was 100% ignorant of the situation. I didn't know that they were Freemasonries. I feel kind of stupid for not knowing that because it sounds very similar. But so I definitely didn't know that. I didn't know that any men could be involved. The backdrop picture to me looks weird unless what that picture is trying to represent is the Masons with their wives who are Eastern Stars. If that's the case, then okay, I get it. But
Yeah.
it's kind of
And the
like,
new marketing is in the crown because you notice that on Etsy and everybody who's setting up their drop shipping, the new thing right now, make $20,000 in 8 weeks drop shipping shit. But anyway, I'm digressing in the story. So you'll notice that amongst the things selling right now are crowns. It used to be the hat. Remember, you used to go to church on Sunday,
hmm
and all the ladies would talk about who got new hats and stuff like
hmm
that. Yeah, now it's the crown. We're changing the marketing. We want everyone to feel royal, even if you can't be royal. We want the feeling of royalty. So now, you have cotillions and tea parties and things like that for the hat. But you also want to bring about the crowns now. We want everyone to feel more royal, not just dressed up.
So my sister went to the cotillion. This is all coming back to me now. I didn't even correlate all of this together. You know what I'm saying? Again, this is something that I thought that only black people went to, the cotillion, because I got this cousin. She's from Pennsylvania. Her name is Devonna, and she's the one who had got my sister involved with it. And again, I never understood it. Because again, it seems like the same type situation where you could tell they're not like specifically saying it verbatim, like this ain't for dudes, this ain't for men, but you can kind of tell by the undertones of the way that they acting. You know what I'm saying? When I'm around, it seems like they kind of like hush hush with it, like whatever the fuck it is. But I just remember like the cotillion my sister went to. It was, I just remember them dressing up, and it was like a party or some shit. I don't remember.
Yep, they were learning how to get them good husbands. Because you become an Easter star, you go to the cotillion, you get your purity pledge, you know it, keep as few of a body count as you can, so that you would be deemed worthy. If you find one of these paragons of men who can make money without wasting money,
Okay,
if
I
you
get it now.
find one of them, you gotta hurry up and be able to just lay it out there and say, "I'm what you need," because you can make money, and I know what to do with the money after you make it. I will make it grow, and that is our job as an Eastern Star, is to make the money do what it do.
It's, to me, it's like a form of grooming, right? It's a way of getting you to act a certain fucking way, and it's, now that I can see from the outside looking at religion,
Groom,
it's a way
groom.
of setting you to a man standards, basically, right? It's no different than what we be talking about on Rest in Peace TikTok about different forms of religious misogyny. It's just a watered down, nice way
We
of doing
groom.
it.
We groom women for men. Never. Surely my auntie, my mother, and my grandmother did not wish to groom me for a man. They would certainly want me to grow up and be an independent woman who can make the money do what it do all by her lonesome without needing a man's name on the mortgage, a man's name on the credit, a man's name on the checkbook. You know, surely, surely my mother and aunties would not groom me to be underneath a man.
The more I learn, and the more I do studies on religion, and things like this, the more I start realizing that, man, the game is rigged for us like a motherfucker. But in a lot of cases like this, I don't really aspire to want nobody like that. I mean, maybe you could say I'm too old, clearly, right? But I don't want nobody like that. Like I tell people all the time, they be like, "Oh, well, a woman shouldn't do this kind of woman, that kind of woman." You like those kind of women. You do. You do. They start shaking ass, you looking, right? If you can get to the strip club or without your significant other finding out about it, you going. If you can go
Wait a
all
minute,
the
wait a
way,
minute, wait a minute.
If you
you
can go
go out
all
with
the
the
way with these women, you're going, right? It's like
women.
it's
Some of us don't care. Some of them give them the money to put in the G string at the strip club. What you talking about? See, that's what I mean. You should have been in the room. That's what your auntie and them wasn't telling you. That's what they wasn't telling you. That's what they was talking about behind their hand that they didn't want you to know about. Mm-mm. Eastern Stars, we're not there to stop the show at all. We are there to make the money do what it do. We don't care if he's going to the strip club. We're like more power to him. No, we don't mind if he gets something sucked or otherwise while he's there. But what we do care about is, did he take care of his person so as to not bring home anything that the Eastern Star will have to answer questions about when it comes to her health?
mm, mm, okay. So she's a what you call it, a PR person, basically.
Thank you. I like the way you worded that. I'm stealing that from now on. Yes, the Eastern Star is the PR person of the Freemasons.
Okay. So basically, okay, it's the PR person, and it's the way to teach you to kind of be uh geared toward man, number one, and kind of. I hope this isn't too strong of a word, but I can't think of another word. But kind of snobbish in a way, right? Or like
I prefer bougie. We are the bougie army.
there it is, there it is, there it is, bougie,
We are the
bougie.
bougie army. We are
That's
not.
the
We are bougie.
yes, that's the proper term,
We are
bougie.
passenger princesses. We are bougie. We prefer to stop at Starbucks. We'll take Dunkin' Donuts if Starbucks is out of the way. We understand not everybody can
I get
afford
it.
$5 for a cup of coffee this big. Not everybody want to pay $5.
Mhm.
Because I like cups this size. That's about $10 at Starbucks, but it's only like $4 at Dunkin' Donuts. And an Eastern Star has to know the difference. You know, can your Freemason afford the $10 coffee? If not, can you direct him to the $4 coffee? See, there's a trick to it. There's a trick to it. There's a trick to it.
Understood. So let me address some questions that I have. Right. Give me 1 second. Now these are frequently asked questions and misconceptions. Okay. So what exactly is the Eastern Star in your opinion?
In my opinion, the current day Eastern Star is basically um a good bitch. Like your top bitch, your top hoe, like, you know, hard out here for a pinch
You
when
ain't
she
know.
trying to make $1 for the rent.
You ain't know. Okay.
Next question.
Okay. Is the Eastern Star a religion?
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Not at all.
Okay. Is the Order of Eastern Star in is it open to all faiths and economic backgrounds?
No.
Okay. Can you explain a little about that?
Okay. Um, your parents have to have a dime or two to rub together. Um, the, what we would call middle class, but it's not really middle class. They claim middle class, but they're really what do you call that? Bourgeois,
Bourgeois.
bourgeoisie, bourgeois. Thank you. Um, but if they're a good Eastern Star, they're hiding the money. It's sitting somewhere making more money. But the point is, if you're a good Eastern Star, the government don't know how much you got. That's a great Eastern Star. When Uncle Sam can't come get it because he don't know about it.
Oh, okay. And
Was
what is
that
the
did I answer the question?
yeah? What is the basis of the Order of the Eastern Star?
Get you a good man. Get you a good man. You want a good man. He's a good man, Savannah. Get you a good man, Savannah.
May a woman
Now,
use? No, sorry, go
now,
ahead.
now the newest thing is a lot of Eastern stars are choosing to be with other Eastern stars. Now, that is the problem that the organization is running into, and they don't know how to fix it. They don't know how to fix it. They don't know how to fix it because we've decided that we don't want the good man. We'd rather have the fellow. Uh, what was that word we just did again? Boot.
Bourgeois.
Yeah, we would rather have a fellow bourgeois. We figured two bourgeois is better than one bourgeois and a guy who don't know what he's doing. He's just there for the face.
Well, men can be bourgeois or bougie.
Right, right. I agree. I agree. And like I said, that would be a good man, Savannah. Find you a good man. If you can find one, great. But, you know,
I think.
according to what I'm told, they're few and far between. I seem to run into them back to back to back. Matter of fact, I'll be walking around with a stick to get away from me because I might catch feelings, and that's the last thing I want to do. So stay the hell
That's
away
the
from me.
easiest thing that's the easiest thing in the world to do is be bougie. All you gotta do is run around acting like you better than some motherfucking body. That's what you gotta do. It's
Like
easy.
I sit here in my pajamas with my fan, drinking my coffee.
It's called faking it till you make it. So, may a woman use as her affiliation a master mason who has died?
Yes, like the gentleman said, paperwork. You need paperwork. You need paperwork, and I know for a fact that my family is well documented. Uh, After my grandfather was murdered,
Hmm.
Uncle Kenny took over. He got all the way to his 33rd degree. He joined the military, but the military fucked up his head. They fucked up his head. And he wasn't fit for nobody after that bullshit. And so that fucked up his marriage. He was not a good man in Savannah. And he died alone and broke. But he got full military honors. And I believe his benefits was passed down to his oldest child. But don't quote me on that. I don't know that for sure.
Okay. What does the Eastern Star have to offer other than, I mean, that other organizations do not?
That is an excellent question. I have no clue. You would have to tell me what the other ones do not offer. Because
Okay.
I see a lot of happy people out there in the world, and they don't know anything about Freemasons nor Eastern Stars.
Okay. What procedure should I follow when I have decided that I would like to join a chapter?
Do you know how they in colleges they have these things called hazing rituals?
Hmm.
Well, your reputation had better be squeaky epic clean. Because them ladies is going to dig up whatever dirt they can find. Because you might take their man.
Is the order patriotic?
Not in the least bit. Now, let me rephrase that. Let me rephrase that. As I said, there are many of the smaller chapters that are still segregated. So if you find yourself in chapters that are still segregated, and then the answer to your question is yes. Uh,
Okay.
if your chapter is completely open, it don't really matter, then you don't know what I'm talking about in the least bit.
Okay. Now I'm speaking from as if I was a woman in this situation, or for anyone that's out there watching it, this sounds interesting or uninteresting too. Can I afford the membership in the Order of the Eastern Star?
Can you what?
Afford it.
Well, that's the whole thing about the order. You even if you can't afford it the day you decide that that's what you seek, before you can get to the top tier, not only will you be able to afford it, but you will know how to maintain it. Does that make sense?
Somewhat, because that's a common misconception. One of the last question that I asked you, and some people may be, thinking like they may not be able to afford it. I'm not speaking in terms now as if it was me, but I can tell you for sure that I can't. Well, I am speaking in terms if it was me, I guess. I can't afford church, so I don't know if I can afford if I would be able to afford anything else. That's just me.
Church was invented to take money out of organizations like the Masons and Eastern Stars. It was church was kind of like the alternative to the order. Like if you can't get in the order because you don't have the the background for it. If you don't have a grandfather or an uncle or an aunt that's on the roll, because like the man said, you can't get in unless you got that somebody on the roll. Then your alternative is church. And like you said, I can't afford church. Matter of fact, if I was to go to a church right now, I'd be like, hey, can you put some money in my pocket? Which of course would get me left on the front steps because we know churches don't give money, they only take money. So that's
Correct.
just a side thing.
I'm almost ready to get out of here, but there's two more questions. One is a personal question that I want to know. Well, they're both personal, I guess. I'm contradicting myself. But what's up with the white gloves?
Ooh, ooh. Um, Same thing like purity, innocence. Um, Scene cleanup. Does that make sense? There's always somebody who has to clean up the mess. So just like in the church, when the ushers put on the white gloves, they're there to escort those who have gotten too sanctified and passed out, escort those who have gotten too riled up and running through the church, jumping up and down. And it- at a murder scene, uh, somebody's got to clean up, and prefer that you wear gloves so you don't leave any evidence behind at the cleanup scene. Same thing, just just several different meanings. Just which cleanup crew are you? Why are you wearing the white glove? Which board member are you? Which cleanup board are you on? Basically, the white gloves means you are on one of several different cleanup boards.
Okay. And the final question before I get out of here. um, in your opinion, is the Eastern Stars time consuming?
No, not in the least bit. Mm-mm.
Okay. Well,
The most time consuming part is I don't know, planning. I guess that's about the most time consuming part.
okay. Well, what you got planned for the rest of the day? We know ain't no TikTok going on.
Right? I don't even know what to do with myself now because you're right. I would spend the rest of the day scrolling on TikTok. So I guess since I've got my laptop up here all set up and everything, what I'm going to do is figure out how to put the Sims back on my laptop so that I can take care of my God complex needs by letting little digital NPCs die and screw meaninglessly throughout a town that I've made up all by myself.
Okay. That's what's up. I ain't got nothing planned. I'm probably just gonna watch football. I'll be back on Wednesday with AAA Sportscast. More than likely, we'll be talking about the national championship game between the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. That game should be I think it's coming on tomorrow. Yeah, it's coming on tomorrow night. So get a chance. If you get a chance, check that out. If not, I'll be back next Sunday with Faith, Lies, and Confusion. I'm not 100% sure of the topic right now, but I'll come up with something. I want to thank everybody for stopping by. Thank you, NJ, for stopping by and spreading your knowledge on the topic. Uh, Again, rest in peace to TikTok. Um, On a serious note, rest in peace to a good friend of mine, David Brown. Thank y'all again for stopping by. I'm about to cut the music on, and good night, all.